Almost 100,000 missing kids that were released by ORR. 440,000 unaccompanied children entered the country through the service of the cartels. Someone needs to explain to me how that's humane, any of this stuff. And a record number of people off the terrorist watch list being arrested. 1.9 million gotaways. That statement alone should convince anybody on either side, 1.9 million gotaways, the border is not secure. It's ridiculous to claim so. I started my career in immigration enforcement in 1984 as a Border Patrol agent. I've worked for 6 presidents, up to Donald Trump. Every president I've ever worked for took some steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. But President Biden is the first president in history of this nation that I know of who came in office and unsecured the border on purpose. And even President Obama gave me the Presidential Rank Award, highest award available. Because what was I doing at the time? I was locating and deporting people that are in the country illegally. So we went for the most secure border of my lifetime, and it's not just my opinion. I've done this for 34 years. Anybody can go to cbp.gov and look at the data. We handed this administration the most secure border in my lifetime. And within months, we went from the most secure border to historic illegal immigration, numbers we've never seen before. And it's not because it's seasonal, it's not because of climate change, it's not because of Trump. This is by design. We already heard about some of these people are coming because of economic reason or natural disasters. The bottom line is, when you claim asylum, you must be escaping fear and persecution from your home government because of your race, religion, and political affiliation, or membership in a particular social group. That is not the fact. If you look at immigration court data over the last 10 years, you'll see that nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border never get relief from U.S. courts that simply don't qualify. But they're coming and staying because of Biden's promises. I wrote an op-ed 6 months before the election. I said, if President Biden becomes president, we'll lose the border, based on the promises he was making during the campaign. And he's kept those promises. Right now, we have record numbers of illegal aliens coming across the border. Catch and release is rampant. Right now, Secretary Mayorkas already said 85% of everybody coming to the border is being released in the country. They're not being detained. And why are they being detained? Because of 2 reasons. Number one, because he knows, like I do, that vast majority of these people will be ordered removed 5, 6, 7 years down the road, maybe 10. He also knows the Homeland Security Life Cycle Report says if you get an order removal and you're in an ICE bed, you get removed 99% of the time. But if you're not in detention, your chances of being removed are slim. If you're a family unit, it's about 6%. That's why they're releasing them. Thousands of empty ICE beds sitting there right now, already paid for by the taxpayer, but they'd rather release them because they know the vast majority will lose their case and they'll be ordered removed, but if they're not in detention, they won't be removed. So this administration comes up with what they call lawful pathways, which I think are illegal, and I think they'll lose when the decision of the courts come out. The CBP One app, 95.8% are approved. Where's the case-by-case analysis that is supposed to be done for people for parole? It's not being done. It's a shell game. They move thousands to the port of entry so they can claim less illegal entries between the port of entries, but it's failed because November to December we saw record amounts of crossings on the border, over 300,000 just in December. And people who say that the border is not in crisis, I tell you this, in 2020, the total encounters on the southwest border is 646,000. This year, 3.2 million, 5 times what we saw during last year's Trump administration. Court orders are years out, but this administration is counting on it. You overflow the system. It'll push these court dates back 7, 8 years. And what's going to happen? Mark my word. When they finally get order removal 7 years down the road, they'll have a USC child. They'll have 2 USC children. They'll get phone calls from, the director of ICE will get phone calls from the Hill saying, why'd you remove that person with 2 USC kids? Well, you didn't have 2 USC kids when he entered the country legally. So now that he has 2 USC kids, he's immune from the law. The court order means nothing. So here's what I'm looking for. If for people who demand these people have a right to claim asylum, they have a right to due process. I agree. But due process doesn't mean anything if the final decision of the courts is not executed and people aren't removed. So if it takes 5 or 6 years, they still must be removed, or the system means nothing. I've been attacked numerous times because I worked with President Trump. They said our policy is inhumane. I've been called a racist and a bigot by members of Congress. Well, let's get one thing straight. Under President Trump, illegal immigration went to a 45-year low, 83% decline in illegal immigration. There's been several studies saying 31% of women that make that journey through cartels get sexually assaulted. So let me ask you a question. I'll make a point. When 83% less people are coming, how many migrants didn't die crossing the border when 83% less were coming? How many people didn't die? How many people off the terrorist screening database didn't try to come to the country because Border Patrol's 100% vigilant on the line and now overwhelmed? How many women and children didn't get into the United States, forced into slavery, forced labor, debt bondage? How many billions did the criminal cartels not make? Under President Biden, where they call this humane, over 1,700 migrants have died on U.S. soil. Historic record, not counting the Darien Gap in Mexico and Central America. 112,000 Americans dying from fentanyl. Historical increase in forced labor and debt bondage. Almost 100,000 missing kids that were released by ORR. 440,000 unaccompanied children entered the country through the service of the cartels. Someone needs to explain to me how that's humane, any of this stuff. And a record number of people off the terrorist watch list being arrested. 1.9 million gotaways. That statement alone should convince anybody on either side, 1.9 million gotaways, the border is not secure. It's ridiculous to claim so.